and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Tonight, what we shall be discussing are some very crucial and very sensitive matters as it pertains to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on one hand, and also to the existence of the people of Nigeria. So what do I mean? Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president and a presidential candidate in the 2023 election, had gone to the United States court asking the court to allow the Chicago State University, the university the president, Bola Tinubu, says he attended, to release to him the records of the president. There's been some back and forth on that matter. Eventually, the court ordered the school to release to Atiku Abubakar's lawyers the details of Bola Tinubu's records that he said he attended the Chicago State University. We'll be analyzing the intention of Atiku Abubakar, how that could affect the possibility of the case that is being appealed in court after the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal gave him his judgment in favor of Bola Tinubu. All of these documents, the details that are imagined, how does it affect Bola Tinubu's chances when the appeal go, or Atiku Abubakar's chances at the Supreme Court? And of course, we'll talk about what the Labour has agreed with the federal government of Nigeria is giving them 30 days breather. What does this mean? What have they agreed on? They, in fact, told the federal government to go to court and validate the agreement, the MOU signed. There seems to be some knowledge coming from the experience of both parties. So tonight, we dissect all of those, and stick around with me because it's going to be every minute of very crucial information right on this channel. Stick around with me. Let's tell you first that the Senate today has amended its standing orders to stop first-term senators from vying for the position of the Senate President and the Deputy Senate President. The senators amended the order during today's legislative proceedings. The amendment of the rule 3 subsection 2 and 1 to 3 of the Senate standing orders follows a motion moved by the Senate leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, with the new amendment to the standing orders of the Senate. First-time senators are now excluded from those qualified or eligible to contest for the position of presiding officers of the upper chamber. Rule 3 of the Senate standing orders, as amended, now stipulates that any senator wishing to contest for the position of the Senate President and Deputy Senate President must have spent a minimum of 1 term in the Senate. His action by the Senate is likely to be a direct response to the leadership tussle before the swearing-in of lawmakers in the 10th Senate a few months ago, when Senator Abdulaziz Yari, a first-time senator, contested against Senator Godswill Akpabio for the position of the Senate President. We also understand that part of the amendment of the rule is the creation of additional 9 standing committees, which has now taken the standing committee to about 74. Before we get deep into the conversations of tonight, there are a few stories that you will need to be updated about. These are containing our political roundup stories.
The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, today read a letter from President Bola Tinubu requesting the confirmation of 3 additional ministerial nominees. Senator Akpabio read the letter during the resumption of plenary session today. The nominees are Balarabe Abbas Lawal from Kaduna State, Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim from Kwara State, and Mr. Ayodele Olawande from Ondo State. The Ogun State People's Democratic Party says it will go on an appeal and has rejected the tribunal judgment which affirmed the victory of Governor Dapo Abiodun at the March 18 governorship election in the state. The position of the party was communicated by the chairman of the party, Sikirulai Ogundele, at a press conference held at the party secretariat in Abeokuta, the state capital. Meanwhile, members of the Inter-Party Advisory Council Council have thrown their weight behind the judgment of the three-man election petition tribunal, which affirmed the victory of Governor Dakpo Abiodun, saying the judgment reflects the wishes of the majority of residents in the state. At a press briefing held in Abeokuta, the state capital, the IPAC members urged members of the opposition parties to join hands with the governor in ensuring the socio-economic and political development of Ogun State. And ahead of the November 11 governorship election in Kogi State, the People's Democratic Party has assured its members that it has the capacity to wrestle power from the ruling All Progressives Congress in the state. The governorship candidate of the party, Senator Dino Melaye, stated this in Lokoja, the state capital, during the inauguration of the governorship campaign committee at the party secretariat. According to him, the PDP has political structures in all the local government areas of the state that can win the forthcoming governorship election. From the southeast in Imo State, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, is promising that his administration will embark on policies that will empower youths in the state to reduce unemployment if elected governor during the November 11 governorship election. Senator Anyanwu stated this while addressing party supporters at his campaign office in Owerri, the Imo State capital. According to him, Students' Bursary Award will be resuscitated in the state to encourage students financially. The youths used the opportunity to endorse his ambition. And the senator representing Ebonyi North in the upper chamber of the National Assembly, Senator Onyeka Chinwebonyi, has advocated for the declaration of a state of emergency in the nation's security sector. Senator Nwebonyi made the call recently in an interview with reporters in Abakaliki, the Ebonyi state capital.
Mr. President, of course, when the motion gets to him, should declare a state of emergency in this sector. We can't continue to lament.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get straight to it. I told you about two major topics that we shall be dealing with. I have a lawyer here who will be giving us the intentions of Atiku Abubakar to discuss, to go to the U.S. court and perhaps the implication. Mr. Kalu will be talking to us on the program tonight. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, sir.
Well, let's also tell you a developing story, and it's about the organized labor that has suspended its planned nationwide indefinite strike action for the next 1 month. This was contained in a memorandum of understanding signed yesterday by the NLC President Joe Ajaero and the General Secretary Emmanuel Obuaje, as well as the TUC President Festus Osifo and the Secretary General of the TUC Nuhu Toro. The 3-page document was also signed by the Minister of Labor and Employment, Simon Lalong, the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Dr. Nkiruka Onyejocha, and Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris. Let me flash you some of what they agreed on, or perhaps let me allow you to listen just in a moment what the labor leaders had to say afterwards.
We have a signed agreement, and we have signed this agreement with the belief that government will act in utmost good faith. We signed this agreement with the belief that every single item in this agreement are implementable. Every single item in this agreement, we are extremely serious about them, and we wish to also reiterate that we are expecting 100% implementation and not a 99% in any way.
There are about 15 points on that memorandum of understanding between both parties. Hopefully that will be in the interest of Nigerians. But let's hear from the president of the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajaero, who joins us virtually now. Thank you so much, Comrade Ajaero, for joining us tonight. It does look like the federal government is listening and yielding to your demands, and it looks like you are also trying to understand the language of the federal government. But it looks to me that both parties are trying to be careful, and the federal government does not want you to go to the street or to go on strike, but you have given them a 30-day breather. But is it in the interest of Nigerians? Comrade, it seems you have muted your device. If you can unmute, please.
Yes. Responding to your question, well, if you call it understanding the federal government and the federal government understanding us. I think we are still at the preliminary stage. A preliminary stage in the sense that what the federal government offered seemed to be a kind of promissory note. And then we felt that we should equally, give them that benefit of doubt to see whether we can bridge that trust gap. And that was why we saw that 30 days for us to monitor developments. It doesn't mean that most of the items there will be, realized within 30 days. No, but there should be, some level of performance, for us to know that they actually are serious about it. So that's what we saw there. If that is understanding, then so be it.
So quickly, there are a few issues that I'd like to take you up on. 35,000 is what you have agreed in terms of workers' wages. How did you arrive at that?
Well, thank you very much. The agenda was set by Mr. President when he announced 25,000. And we looked at it empirically, 25,000, does not fall into any category of what was to happen. We looked at 50,000 and his negotiation. They got to 30. We insisted that we can't go below 40,000. And finally, they came to 35,000. If you look at that 35,000, you see above 100% increase from the minimum wage. And what we are discussing is wage award. Now, if you take that over 100%, and then you take, whatever we are going to gain from the CNG buses when they eventually come on board, you are going to gain close to 100%, if not more, from the operation of the CNG operated vehicles. If you take the two, you'll be meeting up to the 200% increase in the pump price of petroleum products, so to say. And this is equally taken into consideration that within the next 6 months, we should be looking at what the minimum wage should be. This wage award is a kind of an intervention wage, preparatory to when the actual wage will be looked at. Then we are going to look at the inflationary rate, look at the value of the currency, look at the cost of living index, and other conditions will come to the table for us to determine what actually should be minimum wage. But meanwhile, this is a kind of intervention for us to be afloat till the time, minimum wage is actually discussed. And that was why the agreement, indicated that the minimum wage committee should be set up within the next 1 month. Statutorily, the minimum wage act should be expiring by March, April next year. So everything is tailored towards that moment.
So give us an understanding, Mr. Ajaero. 35,000 wage award. I mean, it doesn't, the way it was couched doesn't say minimum wage. It says it's a wage award. Does it mean that minimum wage now is 30,000? So what exactly does it mean? Does it mean now that the minimum wage will be 35,000 momentarily until it's being adjusted permanently? Or what is an addition to the 30,000 naira? What exactly does this mean?
The minimum wage is a product of law. It's legislated in the National Assembly. So whatever we agreed, until it is legislated at the National Assembly, it is not yet minimum wage. The last negotiated minimum wage was 30,000 naira, and it is, inscribed into our statute books that we have 30,000 naira minimum wage. And that was why this one couldn't have answered minimum wage, when the law, will be expiring by April. So this one comes up under the form of, wage award. It's an award that is supposed to serve a purpose. It is an award that is supposed to take care of inflation, take care of the hardship necessitated by the increase in pump price of petroleum products. So it is not minimum wage. but it is a wage, added to the minimum wage. So should we in March, April, or before that time, negotiate the new wage to be 100,000 to be 200,000, it will be inscribed, as minimum wage law, which will be the new law in existence. But for now, what we have in our statute books as minimum wage is 30,000. But that person earning 30,000 is getting a total wage of 65,000. That is minimum wage approved and wage award. That's the situation today.
Oh, I mean, apologies. I like to get it clearly. So today, if the minimum wage is 30,000, is it that it's just 5,000 naira that is being added to it?
It's 30,000 minimum wage and wage award of 35,000, making it 65,000.
65,000. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I mean, could it be possible that 65,000 could be the proposed minimum wage in the coming days or months?
So certain things will come into play, when we are discussing it. Inflation, cost of living, every other thing, will come into it. We will not go to ask for 65,000 because, we'll ask for a realistic amount. Because 65,000 you are talking of, it's still about $70, or thereabout. It's still not what should be minimum wage. It's not even up to $100. So when we come for minimum wage, we are going to look at a minimum wage. We are not going to ask for 65,000. Far from it.
So if you look at it, I mean, there were reports that over 160 billion was paid sometimes in August for some intervention on subsidy. Clarify for us, are you able to find that out when you were meeting with the president? Those who were critical and said, look, if the federal government says subsidy was gone, why would there be any kind of payment to subsidize or pay for any intervention on petrol since the end of May?
Well, that would be a wild goose chase. Why would I even say remove it and increase pump price of petroleum products? If they are under pressure and they decide to do some intervention, to equally, leak their vomit, that there is no subsidy, they have withdrawn it, and they are bringing it back, probably, to reduce a further increase or skyrocketing of the price, beyond limit. As a labor leader who is fighting for the interests of the masses, why would I insist that they should not pay that so that the price will go up? It will not. It is not necessary.
No, I'm talking about the sincerity to the Nigerian people. So yes, I mean, you as a labor leader wouldn't want any worker to pay any dime above what it is right now. But what about the propriety of the statement of the federal government when it says subsidy was gone? And that's why I'm wondering, because you have also in your MOU wanting to know the state of the refinery, and you have set up a committee based on that MOU to monitor what is going on. So accountability is part of what you are asking for. If that is the case, did you in any case, in any of these conversations, did it come up whether or not Nigerians need to know if the federal government made any payment since they said subsidy was gone?
I'll be the happiest person for them to reintroduce subsidy, so that prices of PMS will return to 185. So if they are gradually or instrumentally bringing it back, now you will see that it will be a plus to not only the workers, to all Nigerians. Because prior to now, the impression they gave to us was that nobody, is being subsidized, that the money was going to the people who are just importing. Now, if you take it from the point of 185 naira per liter to the point of 600 and something per liter, you discover that for every liter I decide to buy, or you decide to buy, you have 400 naira in it. And if you buy 100 liters, you have 400 naira by 100. Now, you don't need any mathematician to tell you that, the government is subsidizing it. And in fact, today, they are subsidizing it again at 600 and something. I will not say remove the ceiling, or even for the purpose of accountability, I will know that they have realized their mistake, and probably, they want to see how they can correct it, without, accepting the guilt publicly.
So give us an understanding. You are also pushing that the state government will also follow suit. And you are asking that if there is going to be payment of wage award, and the state government also, because the federal government is what is captured in your MOU, only federal government public workers will benefit from all of this.
Yeah, the issue is that even in the negotiation of minimum wage or wages, what we'll do is to set a benchmark. Even if you check out the minimum wage discussions, we'll set a benchmark for which we don't expect anybody, to go below. But in most instances, the federal government pay higher, like some states. In most instances, you see Lagos, you see River State, you see other states paying higher. Now, what we have tried to do is to look at a kind of benchmark. But bear in mind that before now, the state governments have done some intervention. Some of them are paying 10,000, some 20,000. I was made to understand that one of the states are already paying 30,000 because of the realities of the moment, because of the disequilibrium created by the increase in pump price of petroleum products. So they already are trying to address it. Now we try to figure it out at a certain amount, and then we are urging them, to face the realistic aspect of this. Those state governments are just giving it as mere tokenism to assist workers, as the case may be. Now that this price has been fixed, they are equally urged, to queue, to make sure that this is realized. Ditto the private sector.
Okay, one other issue here is the issue of the relationship with the federal government. And in fact, they've brought, there were those in some quarters that have raised question mark about the relationship of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Labour Party, saying that some of the actions of Labour is being politicized, and there seems to be some distrust between the parties. Are you able to clarify to Nigerians about how Labour, NLCA that is, stands during the political season and outside political season, and when there are issues relating to the average worker?
Well, there's no party that was not formed by anybody or group of people. Some of the parties were formed by retired generals, and we all know this. The same thing with the Labour Party. We don't have apology for forming the Labour Party. Historically, the Labour Party is organized and formed by the trade unions all over the world. And I've said it elsewhere that from the early 1918 down the line to 1945, Michael Imodu came up with the Labour Party. 1964, Semi Imodu and a few others. 1987, Pascal Bafia, and 2003, Adams Oshomole, who later became chairman of APC. Now, within that time when Adams was contesting for governorship, the Labour Party aligned with those that formed APC, AD, and the ACN then, to sponsor Adams for him to enjoy a joint ticket. Then it wasn't a crime if Labour Party decides to, align or form an alliance with other political parties. But thereafter, we changed, to have our own party. Today, we are not aligned to any political party, and we don't have apologies for forming a party that will be beneficial to ordinary Nigerians. Just like the other parties are meant for other Nigerians to be used. All the members of the Labour Party are not workers, they are not trade unionists. If you check the people in the National Assembly today, they are not even members of any Labour union. The same thing with even the presidential candidate of Labour Party is not in any way related with any Labour union. So any Nigerian that wants to belong to the Labour Party is free to belong to the Labour Party. Now, but one of our aims in forming the Labour Party is critically being achieved, that the Nigerian workers cannot survive under even this minimum wage to buy a form to contest for even councillorship in any of the right-wing political parties, be it APC, be it PDP. That was why we said we must have our own party where a messenger, where a clerk can run an election in this country and win. And what we saw from the last election was a situation where even Okada riders are in the National Assembly today through the Labour Party. So if anybody is having any doubt about it, the aims and objectives of forming the Labour Party is being achieved. And we don't have apology for it. If you can have your own party, why wouldn't the workers have their own party?
Let me get your view on item 8 on the MOU signed, which says the federal government commits to pay $25,000 per month for 3 months, starting from October 2023 to 15 million households, including vulnerable pensioners. There have been agitations about the register that would be used to administer this kind of payment to the household. How do you identify these households? How do you then be able to ensure that this is not politicized? Has Labour agree, or did Labour agree on this point? Did you also give your own agenda in the manner in which the federal government should pursue this? Because there are those who fear that these monies are going into the pockets of politicians and going into the hands of some of these state governors. There are those who have argued that they are not certain that these monies are going to be utilized for the purpose in which they are being assigned. Do you have that fear?
Well, these were the same fears expressed when this negotiation started in June. We discredited the list that was in existence before now. Even the governors at the stage, doubted that list. Then between that time and now, I think there's a serious job, taking place to ascertain the real people that should benefit from this. I think it's more or less from our discussions, this matter may be concluded by the end of the month. So it's like the payment may start, next month. Now, the payment will be through biometrics, from all those houses. Now, we raise the question of whether those people at that level, whether they have bank accounts and other details. And the arrangements were already being made with strong assurance, that even those that don't have such account, arrangement will be made for accounts to be opened if they are identified, with all other facilities of paying them this money. Now, if we remember at the onset, what they were discussing was 5,000 in this class. And we said no, until a register, is authenticated. And that's the level we are now. You can't pay. And that 5,000 was too small. The federal government came again to say 8,000, and we rejected it. Now we have moved to the level of 25,000, for every household, that are classified under that. Now we are moving forward to conclude, re-verify, the register. So until this is done, you can't just pay money to anybody that you can't equally prove it. So I think we have moved beyond that level now.
All right. So, President NLC, finally, my last question to you would be your item number 15. It looks to me that you wanted to put into concrete your agreement with federal government, and there are those who believe that perhaps the reason why this clause have come up is because the federal government sometimes have not lived up to expectation and lived up to fulfilling its own end of the bargain. Now, you have said, or the both parties agree, that a memorandum of understanding shall be filed with the relevant court of competent jurisdiction within 1 week as consent judgment by the federal government, which I think you as a lawyer also will be thinking in your mind that you want something that will be binding on both parties and nobody will renege at the end of the day. Is that the thinking or the intentions of Labour?
Well, from this statement, you can see the intention of the drafters of that agreement. Is to make sure that every party lives up to expectation, equally to make sure that each party, goes into this process with good faith, so that we won't be going front and back. You discover that part of the problem we have had in the past, whether it is the problem of tertiary institution workers or whatever, is inability to, follow strictly to the agreement. And the federal government, through Mr. President, said that the era of broken promises are over. And if you equally watch, the altercation between even the Attorney General of the Federation and Labour, over the issue of either court order or no court order, over the issue of an ex parte that is translating to be a perpetual injunction, an interlocutory injunction. When we went to court to vacate this order, which is expected in law, the federal government said the agreement or resolution of this matter will be brought to court as a consent judgment for this matter to be reconciled. So we want everybody to be sure that this matter is rested, not tomorrow, when you break any part of it and Labour says you have broken part of this, you will say there's a court order.
So the planned nationwide strike has been suspended for 30 days. Hopefully that the federal government keeps its own end of the bargain. Is that it?
Exactly. As Labour is keeping their own part of the bargain, by calling off the strike, we expect the federal government to keep their own part of the bargain because they entered into this agreement, voluntarily.
All right. So, but I mean, as things will improve within your relationship with federal government, the organized labor and the federal government?
Well, what we saw was promissory notes, and that's all this. And that was why you saw the provision for 1 month. So as we progress, we know whether, we are going to walk the talk.
All right. In all of this, the most important and the most paramount is the interest of the Nigerian people. The over 200 million lives of the Nigerian people matter in all of this. Either those who are in the brown khaki on the street or those who are in the black tie and suits in the boardroom in the presidential villa, all should be working in the interest of the average Nigerian, and that we hope that will happen in the coming days. Thank you so much, most sincerely, the president of the NLC, Mr. Joe Ajaero, for your time tonight.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. We'll take a breather, and when we come, Kalu will be talking to us about Atiku Abubakar's foray in the United States, asking the Chicago State University to release the academic records of Bola Tinubu, Nigeria's president, and some of that record has now gotten a lot of Nigerians talking. We'll be dissecting the details and the alleged discrepancies in the president's records. Does he match what the president presented to the Nigerian people in Lagos State for the election of the president? How does that affect the Supreme Court, the appeal that's been taken to the Supreme Court? We'll be discussing this afternoon. The Chicago State University, CSU, has finally released the academic records of President Bola Tinubu to his opponent, Atiku Abubakar, in line with an order of an American court. Atiku, the presidential candidate of the PDP in the 25th of February election, had requested the document to back his allegation of forgery of a CSU, the Chicago State University certificate, against the president. The allegation of forgery was one of those dismissed by Nigeria's presidential election court in the suit Atiku filed to challenge the election of the president, Bola Tinubu, and his party, the APC. Despite the court's ruling, Atiku continued his case and the U.S. court, hoping to get official documents to back his claim and possibly include them in his appeal at Nigeria's Supreme Court. Well, he's gone to court to file that appeal, and there are several prayers that is made and positioning, which the lawyers of Mr. Atiku Abubakar says the judgment of the PEPT was a miscarriage of justice. The U.S. court on Saturday ordered the university to release the records within 48 hours. That has happened on Monday. That was presented to Mr. Atiku's lawyer. Loads of documents were connected to Mr. Tinubu's education at institution, and copies of certificates with names issued to other persons about the same time the Nigerian president finished from the school in 1979. It also contained Mr. Tinubu's admission records and a letter dated 27th June 2022, confirming that he attended the university from August 1977 to June 1979, majoring in accounting. He said the letter said that Mr. Tinubu was awarded Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with honors on the 22nd of June 1979. These are some of the copies as released by the school, as shown on your screen right now. And you probably will be able to see more of it as we go on that conversation. Mr. Kalu is a legal practitioner. He joins us tonight to give us a sense of Mr. Atiku's foray in the United States, his plea to the U.S. court, and what the implications might be for the Nigerian Supreme Court when that case comes before them. Thank you so much, Mr. Kalu.
Thank you, Mr. Sheldon.
I appreciate it. What do you think is Mr. Atiku's intention of going to the United States about Tinubu's records?
First and foremost, let's set the record straight that by the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, precisely section 137(1)J, that once you present a forged certificate to INEC, you are not qualified to run. That is the highest law we have in Nigeria. And after that, we now have the Electoral Act 2022 by section 134 of that act, that a contestant of an election can challenge the outcome of that election on several grounds. And one of the grounds is on qualification, which the 1999 Constitution has already provided that once you present a forged certificate to INEC, that is the electoral umpire, you're not qualified to run. And by the document submitted to INEC by Tinubu, which we have certified, Tinubu presented to INEC his purported Chicago State University certificate that was issued to him in 1979. It has generated a lot of controversies. Atiku Abubakar went to US and approached the US court for discoveries to find out whether the purported certificate is genuine or not, whether it was issued by the school or not.
So in the findings, has it been confirmed whether or not the president attended that school?
It has not been confirmed.
It's based on the records.
It's very clear. Even during the proceedings, the lawyer to the school was asked, please, could you confirm the authenticity of this document Tinubu presented to INEC? He said that the school could not authenticate that certificate. And yesterday, in compliance to the order of Judge Nancy, the school released Tinubu's academic credentials to Atiku's lawyers. And what we have are certificates that were issued by Chicago State University between June 1979 and December 1979. And in all the certificates released by the school, none complies, or none is, there is no similarity between what Tinubu submitted to INEC.
So let's get it clearly. From the records shown and the records available to Mr. Atiku's lawyers, you are saying that it is different from what the President Bola Tinubu presented to INEC.
That's the truth.
What are the differences? What are the discrepancies on the document presented by the President to INEC and the one that was presented by the school? Is it in terms of date?
Principally, is the signatories on those.
The officials of the school who signed those documents.
Yes. That's the principal issue. The certificate released by the school has different names from the one Tinubu submitted on the same date of June 22nd, 1979.
Does that tally with the argument in court that there was a loss of document and there was a reproduction of same?
Okay. Now, the names on Tinubu's certificates, it was found out that they were not even the employees of the university as at 1979. So, where did they now come to sign the certificate Tinubu is parading with?
Well, I mean, so if there was a loss of original document as at 1979 when he obtained it, and there is a position that that original was lost, and so we are going back to school to get another copy, wouldn't it be the person who is sitting there at the time?
As at the time the certificate was even reissued to him, those names were not in the employ of the school. They were not.
What about the date of the said graduation? Is there any discrepancy in those dates?
Very well, very well.
What are the discrepancies?
The certificates the university released yesterday has names of the school administrators that signed those certificates. So, if the school signed a certificate in June 1979, and there is a purported one by Tinubu that it was also issued in June 1979, and the signatories are not the same, what will you make out of it? It is forgery. Because our court said, for you to determine which document is forged and which one is not forged, that you will not bring out the one that is believed to be original and the one that is purported to be forged. When you now look at the two documents, you'll be able to find out which one is genuine and which one is not genuine. From what the school released yesterday, there are discrepancies on the names of the school administrators that signed the one they released and the one Tinubu is purported to have obtained from the school.
Do you also discover or notice any sort of difference in terms of the font of the letters or the form of the certificate as presented by the president and the one that has been released, if you make a comparison?
Very, very well.
What did you discover?
The difference is very clear. The fonts are different. The signatures are different. The names are different.
What about the dates? You said there are also difference in dates in the months of and the date of issuance.
The date of issuance, what they have, they released several certificates. Some bearing 22nd June 1979, some bearing some dates in April 1979, some bearing some dates in December 1979. But in all that, you will see that the names on those certificates they released are quite different from the names on Tinubu's certificate.
So, in all of this, I'd like to ask you, what is the major input as a lawyer who understands issues of jurisdiction? What comes out to you as the meat or in the pursuit of Mr. Atiku Abubakar and his lawyers in the foray to the United States?
Mr. Shehu, our law is very clear. If you present a forged certificate to the electoral umpire, that is INEC, you are not qualified to run.
You quoted section 137J, which says a person shall not be qualified for election to the office of the president if he has presented a forged certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission that is a provision of that.
Yes.
So have you been able to establish that? Because if you say that the U.S. court, based on the order of the U.S. court, you and the document received from the CSU, you have been able to raise an allegations of forgery against the president. Does that validate the position in the Nigerian court?
It's clear. You know, the correct legal perspective is the documents Tinubu presented to INEC. Was it a document or was it a certificate issued by Chicago State University? And the answer is no. From what has been released.
From your own, what you saw, do you think the president finished from that school?
He did not. It's very clear now. It's very clear. So, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. The Tinubu alleged that he attended Chicago State University. So you don't jump into a tertiary institution. There is a procedure that takes you into a tertiary institution. The first one is your primary school education, then your secondary school education, and then your tertiary school education. First, in 1999, Tinubu submitted to INEC that he attended one primary school in Lagos and attended a government college in Ibadan. The late legal icon, that is late Gani Fayomi, took him up on this issue and went to court. So, in 2022, when Tinubu submitted his INEC form, he did not say a word on the primary school he attended. He didn't say a word on the secondary school he attended. And government college, Ibadan, has come out repeatedly to deny that assertion by Tinubu that there is no such record in their school. And that is the truth. Today, on that same form of 1999, probably Nigerians have also forgotten that Tinubu also claimed that he attended University of Chicago. He attended University of Chicago. And today, nobody is making mention of that assertion by Tinubu, that he attended University of Chicago. Now, when you now lay all this information on the ground, it's very clear. The logic is very clear that a man who has lied of his primary school education, of his secondary school education, and even the document released yesterday on the Chicago State University application form, he even claimed that he attended Government College, Lagos, and graduated in 1970. The records speak for themselves.
What is the record?
The record is that as at 1970, which Tinubu claimed that he graduated from Government College, Lagos, that school had not been established. That school came into existence in 1974. So, as a lawyer, I already know that you can't place something on nothing and expect it to stand. If the basis upon which, as I'm saying, assuming without considering, that he even attended the Chicago State University, on that false premise, whatever he got goes to no issue.
All right, so let me ask you, as a lawyer, the tribunal, the Presidential Election Court, was the court of first instance.
That's true.
And the court of trial.
That's true.
So when you go to an appeal to the Supreme Court, can you reintroduce a new matter or a new fact to your case?
Very well, Shehu. I will cite two cases here where the Supreme Court held that at the appellate level, an appellant or a party in the matter can adduce new or fresh evidence. In the case of Ozodinma and Izunaso, reported in 2017, the 17 Nigeria Weekly Law Report, I think part 1275, the Supreme Court said you can bring application for leave to adduce new evidence.
But there are no trials at the Supreme Court.
Yes, I have now cited an authority for you. There is also Amechi and Anek, reported in 2008. I think part 1020.
So there's a possibility that the lawyers of Mr. Atiku would probably bring this up at the appeal.
It's not probably, they will.
Part of the prayers as filed at the Supreme Court on appeal is that Mr. Tinubu and his party, just a moment, I'm trying to look at where the PDP is saying that Mr. Tinubu, the president, is not qualified to run for office. I'll get that. So you are hoping, okay, so that the former vice president also prayed that the court to hold that Mr. Tinubu was not qualified to vie for Nigeria's president at the time he did on account of the U.S. for alleged drug trafficking. That prayer is not part of the prayers as presented on appeal. So this is going to be a fresh introduction, is it?
It is. And so the Supreme Court is not only a court of law, it's also a court of policy. In this matter, which has generated international concern, the issue will be, will the Supreme Court allow this evidence on grounds of technicality? Would they expunge it on grounds of technicality? Or would they allow it on grounds of national interest? And the national interest there is, can the Supreme Court now look at it to find out whether actually Mr. Tinubu forged that certificate? Because the issue, because the narrative today by Tinubu supporters is that he attended, that the school has confirmed that he attended Chicago State University. That's not the law. The law is, did you submit or present forged certificate to INEC?
All right.
That's the law.
So as we close now, so the intention is that if you bring that matter up, it might be able to cause Mr. Tinubu to lose at the Supreme Court, making Mr. Atiku Abubakar benefit and be the next president. Is that the plan?
Even before the Supreme Court. So our law, which is the National Constitution as amended, says once you present a false certificate, you are not qualified to run. Today, it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that Tinubu submitted, Tinubu submitted forged certificates to INEC. What we expect Tinubu to do at the moment, like what President Olusegun Obasanjo told Yaradua, please take the path of honor.
All right.
And this path of honor is for Tinubu to vacate that seat and hand over to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who came second in that election.
All right. Thank you so much indeed. All of these will have to be argued before the very honorable judges or the justices of the Supreme Court. When that case, these are issues that have been brought to the bear. They are just facts without legs until they get into the court, and they need to be adduced as evidence. Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Kalu, who is a lawyer, and hopefully we reached out to members of the APC and leaders in the party and those who are speaking for the president to speak on this matter. And some of the respondees that is sub judice and they may not be able to speak at this time. But hopefully many Nigerians will be hoping to get answers and clarifications about the records of their president. Well, that's how we close the program on tonight. I'm sure Akimale, I'll see you tomorrow again. Bye for now.